Hi guys, my name is Angela and I think you probably found this video if you had sudden hearing loss, or maybe you're curious about it. Maybe you have a friend that has it. I just realized when I lost my hearing back in May, there was hardly any videos on YouTube. So I told myself the second I feel better, I'm gonna make a YouTube video about it just so that I can kind of share my experience and hopefully shed some light on the condition. It's kind of like a super silent condition because it's not something you can see from the outside, but I can assure you it affects every aspect of your life when it happens to you. And most people, their first thing they want to tell you is, oh, at least you have your other ear, right? Which is, of course, super grateful that I have 100% hearing on my other ear. But it doesn't change the fact that this is extremely difficult to navigate, and it's only once it happens to you that you can really feel what it feels like. So I kind of wanted to make a YouTube video about it just to share that. I'm a little nervous. It's my first YouTube video, but I just felt such a calling to do this because it really affected me, and if I could help just one person kind of navigate this scary experience, I hope it was all worth it. What initially happened to me, just to kind of go over my story, was back in May, I just woke up, it was a regular day, and I was sitting on the couch doing my makeup, and my ear started ringing on the right side. And I've had like a little ringing in my ear before, so I just kind of brushed it off. But gradually throughout like doing the process of my makeup, I was like, wow, this is like really getting louder and it's starting to be kind of annoying. So I just kind of went about my day and just thought, this is gonna go away. Maybe I have an ear infection. I've never had one in my life, but maybe this is what it feels like. So I went to work, I'm a nurse, and I was sitting in our huddle, which is, before we start work, and I started just getting really dizzy, and I just was getting really off balance, and I was like, okay, something is going on. And at this point, it's been like the course of 30-40 minutes, I was like, I don't think I can hear anymore. And I had this really full sensation in my right ear. And so anyways, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna beast through this, got this. Maybe I have a little vertigo and it's gonna be fine. I've seen a ton of patients with vertigo. You'll be all right. Anyhow, the next hour or so was really like, okay, I gotta go home. Told the charge nurse, I gotta go home. Somehow I actually did make it home. I was okay so far to drive. But when I got home, I was pretty much unable to walk around barely. Like I was really, really dizzy and had a lot of vertigo. My fiance luckily told me, hey, you gotta make an appointment like right away. Thank goodness I did that, because basically the next day when I went in, they told me, you have sudden sensorineural hearing loss, which is really scary when, the doctor looks at you and she says your hearing may never come back. And I just remember just tearing up and just being in shock and just thinking, why did this happen? What's going on? So that's one of the biggest questions I get from people is what causes it? And actually it's not really fully understood, or else obviously we would have a way to prevent it or teach about it, do this, do X, Y, and Z so you don't get hearing loss. But it is linked to a lot of viruses. So one thing that did kind of cross my mind was, I'm a nurse, I did get COVID really early on. So I thought, could this be a late onset part of that? Potentially, but there's really no way that we can know. So as far as the treatment, what I did was, obviously I first went to a head neck specialist, and they then referred me to an audiologist to confirm first that I did in fact have hearing loss. And they did my audiogram, and it was in fact a profound hearing loss. So let's just put it this way. If I put in AirPods and turn up full blast, my right ear can hardly even make out the sounds. If I wear earplugs, I only have to put an earplug in this ear because this ear pretty much just can't hear anything. Functionally speaking, it can't hear anything. So, confirmed that I did have hearing loss. Then after that, I had an option to do medical treatment, which was prednisone. So the prednisone was actually, don't get freaked out, it's an injection directly into your eardrum. Yes, it hurts, but you know, when you lose your hearing, the way I see it, it's like, you know, I'll try anything. But honestly, that wasn't so bad as having to take oral prednisone. Now that drug is crazy. People who've been on prednisone probably know, but it keeps you up like all night. I had terrible insomnia. I was so irritable. I was already emotional because just what was happening to my body, but on top of that, that just added another like just super intense layer of just anxiety, irritability. And I don't know if that also affected my appetite, but I'm not trying to steer anyone away from getting the oral prednisone. I can't really say for sure if it helped anything, but I think, you know, a lot of studies do show that it helps. So obviously talk about it with your doctor, but I'm just telling you my experience. After prednisone, injections 3 times, oral steroids, I think it was at least like a week or 2. I actually did find out about hyperbaric oxygen therapy. This could be a whole video in and of itself, but just to kind of briefly touch on it, hyperbaric therapy is where you go in a chamber under pressure and basically you're receiving oxygen at the same time. So it kind of pushes the oxygen into a deeper level into all of your tissues. So if you kind of think about any cells dying, for example, inner ear cells dying, any situation where you could kind of increase the oxygen or optimize how much oxygen flow is going to the area, you have a chance of saving those dying tissues, is kind of the concept there. There's a ton of studies that I found online. I was never told about it by my regular doctor. It's a whole other video in and of itself, I'm telling you. But something to look into, and I would say if you have the funds, if your insurance will cover it, look into it, try it. It can't hurt anything. And actually, I had an improvement once I did that. I had a visible rise in my hearing on my audiogram. Still, it was a little late in the game for me. I should have done it really early on, is kind of the recommendation for that. So unfortunately, it was kind of late for me. But I would say if you just had hearing loss, you're just now watching this video, go check out hyperbarics in your area. If you're in the Bay Area, shout out to Alex at Holistic Hyperbarics. You can look them up. Not being paid by them, just where I went. I love them. I just want to give you some reassurance in the process, because if you have sudden hearing loss, it's like you're in your own little world. You feel like no one understands what you're going through. People are talking to you, they're not talking loud enough. You have this incredible fullness in your ear. You may have dizziness, you may have tinnitus, ringing in the ears, which I have that as well. I promise you, it will all get better. Not to say I can tell you your hearing's gonna come back. Not that I can tell you your tinnitus is gonna go away. But I can tell you that it will get better. I promise. This is the thing I wanted and needed to hear when I was going through it, but I just couldn't find anything that would have kind of told me this. So that's my main thing I want to tell you. That sensation of fullness and discomfort and just overwhelming sensation of like, I can't hear, you feel underwater, you feel like you're just kind of suffocating, it will get better. Your body is so amazing at being able to heal. It's like your body just adapts, you know? At first, it's like the only thing you can think about. It's terrible. You don't want to see people. You don't want to watch movies. When I first had this, I had to like wear earplugs just to be around regular sounds because I had, it's called hyperacusis, which is basically your now unaffected ear is like hypersensitive. So it's almost like you can't hear, but things are too loud. It's just, it's unless you go through it, it's really hard to describe. So just anybody who's going through this with somebody, your support person, have patience with the person because I feel like I was terrible during this time, but I was just going through it. It's really hard. If you have a friend, best friend, your family, just have those people that whenever you're going through it that you can just call and talk to. My fiance was for sure my best support person. I literally cried like every day for I don't know how long, but it was for sure weeks. I think it was also the prednisone. I also quit caffeine at the same time. That could probably be its own YouTube video too. So I was going through a lot. So let's see, what else do we have to talk about? So when you have hearing loss and you're going through these changes, you have to make sure you let people know what you're going through. It's kind of hard at first because you don't want to be like, oh, everyone pity on me and make sure you know about like my new disability. So tell people, hey, do you mind if I sit on this side of the table because I can't hear on this side? Sit on the corner, sit on your outer corner, opposite obviously of your deaf side, so that you can hear people a little bit better. If you can qualify for a hearing aid, that's a potential huge help. I did trial a hearing aid and I did not have enough hearing to actually benefit from it. If you don't have enough hearing, you can only turn up the volume so loud, but it's not gonna register, if that makes sense. So just work with your doctor obviously to see what your options are. But if like me, you are pretty much functionally deaf, there's gonna be a lot of challenges. I actually did trial the hearing aids like I mentioned, and I did qualify for the Baha. So that's probably gonna be another video, but it's a bone anchored hearing aid. So what that is you get a implant into the skull with a titanium post. You don't see anything from the outside necessarily, except for when you get your hearing processor, which sits on the outside. I actually did have the surgery. It's been a little bit over a week. Definitely the roughest part of the recovery is over. I had a lot of neck spasms and cramping, but honestly that was the worst of it, was just being really slow with moving my neck and just making sure that I didn't get like those terrible spasms.
But yeah, so I can even show you the area.
It's healing quite nicely, I think. I got a little bit of a haircut here. But anyhow, I will be able to get fitted for that in 1 month. So it's not gonna help me hear on this side. This hearing is pretty much gone. But what it does do is it picks up the sound from this side of my ear, and it actually vibrates in my skull to transmit the sound all the way to my hearing ear. Another thing I want to mention is like somewhat of an anxiety sometimes you can have with single-sided hearing loss. So with this condition, like going to the grocery store, going to Costco, like being in a situation where there's a lot of sound and a lot of movement and a lot of people, you get this kind of anxiety because there's several instances where there's been a person on my side that I literally did not know was there, and you turn and it's just kind of like shocking and jarring to see that there's a person right there. Or sometimes they're saying like, excuse me, and you can't even hear them, and they're like trying to get past you and you're just standing there not hearing them. It's pretty awful. So also in social situations when people come over, I love having people over. Everyone is mingling and talking, and tons of times you just don't know what is being said. It's almost like you can only focus on one person at a time, and when there's like this kind of back and forth with people, it can just so quickly be lost, and you're just like, I'm lost. Next thing you know, everyone's laughing and you're like and you're just kind of like trying to fill in these gaps of not hearing, because you don't want to be that person that's like, what? I can hear you. What? I can hear you. But hey, I can't hear you. Okay, perfect. We got through it. So that's my YouTube video on sudden hearing loss. I hope it helped you, or maybe it helped with someone you love. Hopefully I'll be making another video just to follow up when I actually get my Baha, my hearing processor on top of my implant, and I will be able to give you guys another update video so that if you're considering the Baha, then hopefully I can give you a little insight into that, because I also noticed there's not that many YouTube videos on that either. So until next time, thank you so much for watching. Good luck.